Climatologist Ilana Green from the National Center for Atmospheric Research, NCAR Center, studies the current spike in the Earth's atmosphere and tries to find the root cause of it. In Pasadena, at the SETI Research Institution, radio astronomer Zane and his partner Calvin stay late at their office one night trying to finish their work. Zane's broker girlfriend, Char, calls him to tell him that she is tired of his always prioritizing work over their relationship and asks him to come to her house right away. Zane apologizes, and as he prepares to leave, the telescope picks up an extraterrestrial signal from a star 14 light-years away from Earth, named Wolf 336. Zane and Calvin frantically and excitedly follow the detection protocol and confirm that the signal is real. As Calvin checks all the necessary software, Zane calls fellow stations, hoping to get another ear on the signal, but before he can contact anyone, the signal terminates after lasting only 42 seconds. The next morning, Zane and Calvin take a tape recording of the signal and rush to NASA to inform their immediate supervisor, Phil Gordian, of their discovery and demand they be given the necessary support to stay on the research. Phil is extremely skeptical of their report and brings up different scenarios to counter the men's theory. When that fails, Phil pulls Zane aside and fires him from his job, citing recent budget changes, and promises to pass the tape to the decoding unit so that any recognizable pattern could be detected. However, as soon as Zane leaves, Phil destroys the tape. Zane's troubles mount as his relationship with Char becomes more strained. Meanwhile, in California, Ilana continues her study into greenhouse traces but has a hard time getting the data she needs as multiple institutions delay their support and give her the runaround. Back at the SETI institution, Zane calls a man named Bill, who runs another station and had promised him a job a couple of months prior, and learns that Phil had blacklisted him from being hired at other telescopes. Frustrated, Zane tracks Phil at a seminar and demands his tape back, but is shocked to hear his former boss deny its existence. Zane then calls Calvin at the institution and asks him to make a new tape from their backup system, but learns that officers from the Department of Defense have confiscated all their data and equipment, citing the signal was a burst from a spy satellite. Frustrated, Zane goes to Char's office to vent, but is shocked to learn that she's been offered a new job in San Diego and is considering taking it. Zane takes a job as a television and satellite installer and tries to focus on carrying out menial daily responsibilities. After a couple of days at his new job, Zane comes up with the idea to build his own telescope array to track the mysterious signal using his customers' dishes from the neighborhood. Zane sets up all the equipment he needs in his attic and starts his operation. One night, as Zane works in the attic, a curious young local boy named Kiki wanders in and the two form a friendship, and Zane explains his mission in detail, which fascinates the young boy. In the coming few days, Zane and Kiki continue studying signals in the attic and relocate the extraterrestrial signal, but Zane is confused to hear the signal being drowned out by transmissions from a Mexican radio signal. Zane tries to work out how two identical signals could come from space and Earth and rushes to Calvin's home to discuss and figure it out. However, when he gets there, Zane is devastated to learn that Calvin has died of carbon monoxide poisoning. At NCR, Ilana finally gets the data she needs and learns that the atmospheric temperature has risen 700% in the last 5 years, and that if it continues this way, human life will not be supported. She then discovers the origin is somehow related to Mexico and prepares to head there. Zane goes to Mexico hoping to talk to the radio station employees and find out what's going on. There he meets a chatty taxi driver who takes him to the radio station outside of town but is dismayed to find it burned down. The driver then takes him to a small, shabby hotel in town. There he gets to his room and tries to unwind by taking a bath. Moments later, the ceiling directly above the bath collapses and falls into the tub, barely missing him. Zane rushes out of the bath and is shocked to see that a gaping hole now connects his room to the one below, through which he pees at a suspicious man running out. He realizes that he has seen the man following him since he landed in Mexico and chases him around town. Zane finally corners the man but misses him as the man jumps to the roof of the 4-story building behind him and disappears. Zane is confused as to how the man pulled his unnatural escape but distracts himself by focusing on his original mission. Still following signals through his telescope, Zane then tracks it to a newly built power plant outside of the city. When he gets there, he meets Ilana fighting with the plant's security over her climate testing equipment. Zane is shocked to see that one of the guards looks exactly like Phil. He pushes this thought aside and helps Ilana, but they are both held at the the plant until the personnel check their IDs. There, the two are properly introduced to each other and start discussing climate change until they're released a few hours later. Back in the US, Phil gives a spherical device to a couple of agents disguised as gardeners and sends them to Zane's house. There, the agents breach Zane's attic and dispatch the device, which empties all of the attic's content. Kiki hides and watches suspiciously as the men mow the lawn to drown out the sounds coming from the device. In Mexico, Ilana and Zane leave the plant and discuss climate change and the amount of greenhouse gases emitted from the power plant over dinner. Meanwhile, a mysterious man breaks into Ilana's room and dispatches deadly scorpions. After planning to meet back in their country to discuss the matter further, Zane walks Ilana to her room and returns to the plant to investigate what's going on. There, as he secretly watches, he is shocked to see a giant satellite protrude out of the ground. Zane is mystified by the situation and continues to observe in hiding and sees the taxi driver approach the gate and pass through a body scan. Zane uses this moment of the driver's distraction to hide in his trunk and enter the facility. There, he sees uniformed people carrying out various tasks. He discreetly steals a uniform and puts it on so that he can blend in. However, one of the workers recognizes that Zane's an outsider, and as he alerts his buddies and organizes a search, Zane finds tiny creaks and cracks in the building to hide in and temporarily evade their notice. Zane then finds an elevator and, hoping it will lead him to safety, gets on board, but instead is transported to a peculiar underground facility. There, Zane sees an alien operating some machinery that releases massive amounts of gas. Then, to his utter shock, the alien goes on top of an invisible platform, which gives it human skin and transforms it into an attractive young woman. Moments later, as Zane goes around examining the facility, an alien sees him and dispatches its friends to look for him. After running around a bit, Zane goes on top of the invisible platform, which gives him extra skin and changes him to a distorted version of himself, which the aliens take to mean he's one of their own. Zane then makes it to the elevator and finds the taxi driver, who looks at him from up close and becomes suspicious. Out of desperation, Zane pushes the taxi driver off the elevator and proceeds to make his way out. When he reaches the ground, Zane sees that the security guards have been alerted and a search is being conducted. He manages to run out of the facility and gets to his car. As he speeds away, he runs over a guard but continues on his way as the guards chase him. The next morning, Zane goes to the local police station and relates what happened to the skeptical officer, who in turn accuses him of committing a hit and run. Moments later, the officer is summoned outside and is presented with Ilana's dead body as Zane watches through the window in horror. Realizing the implication, as he was the last person seen with Ilana, Zane jumps out through the back window, escapes, and returns to his country. There, he runs into Phil as he leaves a convention, shows him a concealed gun, and pulls him aside. He details everything that happened in Mexico and forces his supervisor to expose that he is an alien in human skin, that his kind killed both Calvin and Ilana, and that the aliens are producing so much green gas that they can transform the Earth's climate to become burning hot so that it'd be suitable for themselves and wipe out all humans. Zane then produces a recording device from his pocket, tells Phil that he will broadcast everything, and escapes to his house. There, he pulls Kiki aside, makes sure he's okay, and details all that he knows so that someone else would have the information in case the aliens get to him. Zane then rushes to his attic to transmit the recording device along with the video footage, but is shocked to see it has been emptied out. Kiki and Zane hide out in his house as Zane packs up his stuff to go to the valley, where the biggest satellite is located, so that he can transmit the recording from there. Char learns from the police that Zane is back and rushes to his house to check on him. After hearing everything, she offers to drive him to the valley, and Zane hides in the back of her car. Just as they proceed to leave, Kiki jumps in the car, begging them to take him with them. As soon as they leave, alien agents arrive at Zane's house and destroy everything. At the valley, Zane gets to the transmission room, and as he tries to step up everything, he hears the police arrive. He then gets suspicious that someone must have ratted him out to the police and accuses Char of trying to turn him in. Char admits that she had called the police on their way out of fear for their safety, but denies selling him out. Then an alien man flies in through the ceiling, and chaos ensues as Zane tries to fight him off. As soon as the alien is dealt with, Zane orders Kiki to hit the transmission button once he gives him the go-ahead, and leaves with Char to go to the base of the satellite to upload the recordings. The alien agents follow the couple and try to enter the base by breaking the door. door. Char holds the door by chains and fights against the forces trying to knock it down while Zane sets up the equipment for upload. Once he finishes, he communicates with Kiki through video and tells him to start the satellite. Instead, in a shocking turn of events, Kiki opens the door for Phil, who barges in and destroys the transmission equipment and confiscates the tape. Zane is shocked that his young friend has been an alien all along and tries to plan his next step. He looks around the room, finds liquid nitrogen, and sets it up as Phil and the rest of the alien agents crash through the door of their van. As soon as the van enters, Zane releases the liquid oxygen, which freezes all of the agents. As Zane tries to pick through the frozen Phil's pocket to find the tape, the spherical object drops from the van and starts activating. Zane calms the panicked Char and tells her to leave the room through the air ducts that lead to the satellite surface. He picks through Phil's pocket as the device finishes its activation and barely makes it to the ducts, while the device starts engulfing everything in its proximity. The satellite starts falling apart, and Char struggles to keep herself safe while Zane fights his way out of the ducts. Char helps Zane out and the two embrace in relief. They then realize that Kiki has been standing by watching everything unfold. Zane warns Kiki that his species will not gain easy access to Earth anymore and admonishes them that they could have used a more peaceful approach to negotiate their needs. Kiki turns into his alien form as he runs away. A few days later, Zane manages to successfully release the recording for the world to see.